Namaste, I am Boswadi Chantal, a student of MPhil second semester, Nepal Open University, winter session 2075. Today I'm going to present short videos on translation studies as a part of assignment on exploring the boundaries of transcreation in specialized translation. It is actually written by Vivinia Gavallo, University of Magrat, Italy. And the topic is redefining transcreation. Redefining transcreation. Transcreation is a concept used in the field of translation studies to describe the process of adapting a message from one language to another while maintaining its intent, style, tone, and context. In the words of Alan Mack 2003, transcreation means a creative translation. In other words, translating sales copies, brochures, slogans, etc., so that they are as effective in the target language as in the source language. The result must sell a brand, product, service, or idea effectively to the target audience. As for example, we watch many advertisement of cosmetics and other in Nepal television, translated originally from Hindi with same intent, style, tone, context, and effect. Creators are granted greater creative license than simple uh, translators. That means transcreators have more freedom to translate as compared to only simple translators. Because translation sounds like a commodity and transcreation sounds like a service. Okay, let's see some difference between translation and transcreation. Actually, translation is word for word translation, but transcreation is adaptation of culture, context, and setting of source language to the target language. Translation is only literal translation, and in transcreation, the translator is free to translate from source language to target language. Translation is faithful in nature, and transcreation is idiomatic in nature. The translation tends to translate only semantic, focusing only on semantic aspect of translation, but transcreator focuses on communicative aspect of source language to target language. Okay, let's see some of the words which are similar to transcreation. Transcreation has often been equated with adaptation. We should therefore take a closer look at both concepts. Adaptation is identified as the freest form of translation, mainly used when translating plays or poetry with themes, characters, plots left unchanged. The source language culture converted to the target language culture and the text rewritten. Adaptation denotes the target text that draws on a source text which has extensively modified it for new cultural context. For example, while translating from English text like festival, Christmas, and other main festivals, while translating into Nepali, we can translate it as Dasoi, Deepavali as a cultural context, and the custom of marriages like white gown, etc., can be translated into red sari is modified to the target cultural context. The term usually implies that considerable changes have been made in order to make the text more suitable for a specific audience, like children, or for the particular purpose banned the translation. Monday 2009. Monila and Uradu all were chosen to define of adaptation as a translation technique to replace a source text cultural element with one from the target culture. As for example, to change basketball from English to Spanish, the Spanish term is football for baseball. In Black Trojan Tree, in his book, productivity is defined as the possibility of creating a new word and statistical readiness with which an element enters into new combinations. The notion of productivity must make a reference to a speaker's ability to form new words and to the conditions the language system imposes on new words. The processes can be productive while and to the extent it is used in the coinage of new forms. As for example, nowadays the word lockdown is very much used and the production of new words for a lockdown in Nepal is banda bandi and this is a coinage or reproduction or production of new word. It is regularly and actively used in the creation of totally new words. And there is another word of transcreation, that is code drafting. The second term that deserves clarification is code drafting. The process of code drafting. In the process of code drafting, target culture-oriented quadrant is justified by the nature of the activity involved. That is, drafting the true language version of text, legal, commercial, gaming, etc. at the same time by using a team of two drafters, one of whom is responsible for the language one version, and while the other is responsible for the language two version. In co-drafting, neither version is a translation of the other. As a result of working together, the two drafters often prompt each other to change or improve their version based on their sound understanding of both languages. The focus is less on the languages themselves than on the cultural filters to be applied. Co-drafting is now a well-established practice, especially in bilingual or trilingual countries such as Canada or Switzerland, where more than one language is used. Okay, the conclusion. The etymological meaning of two components of transcreation is translation and creation. That is transcreation. The transcreation is an intra or interlingual reinterpretation of original work suited to the reader's audience of the target language, which requires the translators to come up with new conceptual, linguistic, and cultural construct to make up for the lack or inadequacy of existing ones. As for example, the intralingual translation can be the translation of Bhanuvakta Ramayana into present Nepali context, and the interlingual translation means the translation of English Bible into Nepali and English novel drama, which are translated into Nepali. It can be looked at as a strategy to overcome the limits of untranslatability. But in fact, it is a holistic approach in which all possible strategies, methods, and techniques can be used to translate from source language to target language. It requires fluency, flexibility, originality, and elaboration. And it requires the translator not only to convince new words but also to imagine new worlds of target language from the source language. Thank you. This is all of my presentation.